Welcome and bienvenidos to our new program called Next Generation, highlighting the many creative journeys of next generation leaders. In this series, I will bring you the stories of young leaders in science, literature, medicine, education, and business. Those who have chosen to reach further, travel farther, innovate, and take the risks often necessary to make a difference in their own lives, in those of their families, their communities, and someday in the world. My name is Julieta Garcia. For over 22 years, I had the great privilege of serving as president of the University of Texas at Brownsville. Through that work, I came to know the stories of many of our students that overcame great obstacles to attend college and through great sacrifice of their own and of their families, make it through. Getting to know their stories was always a great inspiration to me. So I thought I'd chase some of them down, interview them, and let you hear in their own words what they're up to now, what their challenges were, and what they hope to accomplish in the future. I promise you will be as inspired, amazed, and humbled by their accomplishments as I have been. Now let's get started. Stephanie Vega developed a love for biology in high school, where she was able to discover answers to her innate curiosity about nature and the human body. She chose to attend UT Brownsville because it was affordable and would allow her to remain close to family. Stephanie had to work to help finance her university education. So she found a job on campus, working alongside professors in their labs. This led to her pursuit of a biomedical science major because she wanted to spend her life's work driving the future of medicine. After completing her bachelor's degree and because she had gained so much experience in practical research methods, she was accepted directly into a PhD program at the University of Texas Medical School in Galveston. At UTMB, Stephanie became part of a research team that is the first in the world to create human lungs in a lab for eventual transplant into patients. This extraordinary breakthrough into regenerative medicine has now captivated international attention. Today, I'm interviewing Stephanie, who is now in her last semester of her doctoral studies. I begin by asking Stephanie about her own mother's story. About your mother, Celia Vega. Now, Celia never was able to fulfill her dream of going to college. Is that right?
Yes, she didn't get the chance. It was her dream to be a lawyer, actually, and to go to college and graduate and become a lawyer, but she became a mom when she was 18. So when her mom died and her dad left them, she became a mom to her 6 brothers and sisters.
And then that was the end of her dreams to be able to go to college.
She pretty much had to stop going to school and get 3 jobs so that she could support her brothers and sisters. She was the oldest, and so until my aunt, who was second to her, the second oldest, was able to get a job, then both of them contributed to support everyone. But yeah, she pretty much had to drop out of school and start working, be able to feed everybody, and all of her brothers and sisters were able to go to school, but she had to make that sacrifice for them. She had to stop going herself to provide for them so that they could make it.
And it's a very similar story to the story of many of our students here who are often first generation or just multi-generation here in the United States, but are faced with very difficult circumstances growing up. And one person taking kind of the load, the responsibility to open the door for everybody else. So we remember your mother today as we talk about your own studies. So you began your studies at what was then the University of Texas at Brownsville. Did you have any idea what you were going to study when you started out?
My freshman year at UTB, I've always had an interest in science, but until I started taking those courses, I pretty much knew that I had a passion for it. It wasn't just that I liked it, but I knew that I had a passion for it. My science classes were the ones when I would be excited to go to. And so I was always excited to go to my chemistry classes, my physics classes, my biology classes. And so I knew that it was more than just a like. I knew that I wanted to spend the rest of my life doing that. Once I started working in a laboratory, in a research laboratory there at UT Brownsville, I fell in love with it. I fell in love with the kind of work they were doing. I love the fact that I get to study what I was learning in my classes, but step ahead and actually do the science in a lab. That was fascinating to me. And so I knew from there that once I would graduate with my bachelor's that I wanted to go on and get a PhD in biomedical science.
So it's my understanding that your professors encouraged you to skip the master's degree and go straight into a PhD program. Can you explain to us how that happens and why it worked for you?
Yes, one of the things that really helped me out was having my mentor, Dr. Garrido, when I was working at UT Brownsville. He was an excellent mentor. He challenged me in the lab like a mentor should, but he was my biggest supporter. And so having the experience of working in a biomedical research laboratory there at UT Brownsville actually helped me get ahead when I was applying to graduate school because I already had that experience under my belt. When many other students who, let's say, get a master's, but they don't really have that much research experience, you know, I was actually competing with people who did have masters but didn't have research experience. And so having that under my belt helped me a lot when I came into graduate school. And also the advice from my mentor, you know, just it only takes one person to tell you that they think you can do it, to give you that confidence that you need when sometimes you doubt yourself. It takes this one person to tell you, you know, I think you can do it and you should, to give you that confidence to go ahead and do it.
And in this case, it happened to be Dr. Emilio Garrido?
Yes, Dr. Garrido.
That's right. Well, thank goodness for Dr. Garrido and for him selecting you as his special mentee because obviously it had great impact. And jobs on campus are so important for students because that's where they get to know their professors and get to know the kind of underground communication networks that are so important for students to apply themselves and succeed in graduate programs. So he persuaded you then to go ahead and apply for the PhD program at UTMB. And why UTMB Galveston?
One of the main reasons I chose to apply to UTMB was because I knew they were an infectious disease intensive research center, one of the only ones that has up to BSL 4 level for biosafety training, one of the only ones in the nation that trains students for different BSL 3, BSL 3 enhanced, and BSL 4 biosafety levels. So I knew that a lot of experts from around the world were working at UTMB to do infectious disease research. And so having that be close to home at the same time, I thought was the perfect combination for me because I am an only child and I still want to be able to drive home, you know, for the holidays. And so having that research intensive atmosphere here was what I fell in love with when I first came. I also, the first time I interviewed with my mentor now, Dr. Joan Nichols, I love the kind of style, the kind of teaching style that she had. She is an excellent mentor, and so when I first met her and she talked to me about her research, I fell in love with the type of work that she was doing. And so that was another reason why I decided to stay here once I interviewed with her.
So you went from Dr. Garrido to another mentor, and that was Dr. Joan Nichols. And her research is in regenerative medicine. Is that right?
Yes, tissue engineering and regenerative medicine.
Tell us a little bit about the research now that you have been part of at UTMB for your doctoral studies.
So my project involves the bioengineering of human lung tissue. So there are two purposes for tissue-engineered human lungs. One is for regenerative medicine, and so what we do is we bioengineer human lungs with human cells and a human scaffold so that we can bioengineer a whole human lung that's functional with the possibility of, in the future, bioengineering lungs for patients who need a lung transplant. So there are a lot of respiratory chronic lung diseases that are uncurable. many patients who have advanced stages of these diseases need a lung transplant, but there is a wait list in that lung transplant, and many patients die waiting for a lung. And so the purpose of our regenerative medicine studies would be to bioengineer lungs that could potentially be used for people who have chronic lung disease. The other side of this is bioengineering human lung tissue for the development of human lung models that can be used to study respiratory infections or study some of these chronic lung diseases that we don't know much about yet, and there is no cure for them. And so my research project was involved in both of these sides of the research, the regenerative medicine side to bioengineer a fully functional human lung, but also tissue engineering to develop the human lung model system to study these respiratory infections and these chronic lung diseases.
That's fascinating and new to you then until you got to UTMB. Is that right?
Yes, this was a whole new area of research that I was involved in. So this was the first time I was involved in a lung lab, in a bioengineering lab. But a lot of the techniques that I learned in my undergraduate lab were key for me when I came here to UTMB and my graduate lab. And so a lot of those techniques helped me out a lot because I already knew how to do a lot of the techniques we were supposed to be using in this lab.
It is so important for students to get that first exposure and that foundational exposure in research labs as an undergraduate student. And you're a great example of how it can launch you and propel your further studies, and for us, into solutions for these very, very difficult issues. So now you're at UTMB and you're studying. You're away from home now, away from mom for the first time. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's right.
That's got to be a little bit of a challenge for you.
Yes. When I first got here, it was a little bit difficult. You know, you move to a city, you don't really know that many people, you don't have any friends here. It was the first time I moved away from home, and it was hard. I missed my family, but I'm glad that I'm only 5-6 hours away. Mm-hmm. That's one of the things I like about being here. I can drive home for Christmas. I can drive home for Mother's Day, or vice versa. My parents usually come see me too because it's just 5-6 hours away.
That's wonderful.
So yes, I love that I'm still close enough to home.
And to stay connected and stay supported, one for the other. Okay, so now you're doing the research. You've kind of developed a new circle of colleagues and friends at the medical school, and you start by joining her team in this research, Dr. Nichols' team. And at some point, you all start a collaboration with scientists from Spain. And people may not understand that the scientists collaborate not only within their networks, say at UTMB, but also internationally. And that's how real advances are made and faster advances are made. So you all had a team opportunity to collaborate with a team from Spain. Is that right?
Yes, we did. Part of those studies involved studying the mechanical properties of the human lung scaffold and what the scaffold itself is composed of. And so, yes, we did have a collaboration with a group from Spain.
And when that collaboration began, then it occurred to folks on your team that it would be really handy to have someone that was a scientist and also who was bilingual and biliterate to be able to be their team lead. Is that what happened with you and the Spanish team?
Yes, I had the opportunity. I'm actually the only person in my research team who spoke Spanish here at the Nichols lab, and so because of that, I was able to help them translate a lot of the things we were doing.
And that's wonderful because that facilitates communication now across oceans to speed up research. And then I understand that because of the work that you all had done, you all gained some international acclaim for your research. And so Televisa or Univision came knocking at your door. Is that right?
Yes, we had Univision stop by to do interviews here at our lab because they were interested in, to know what exactly was that we did, how we bioengineered the human lung we did, and what the next steps in our research were. So we did have a couple of Spanish-speaking news stations come by, and other local ones from Houston, too, stopped by our lab to ask us about our work.
So what was wonderfully unique about your situation is that you were able to talk science across oceans and borders. You were able to talk research across those borders, and you were able to do that in two different languages. And sometimes we forget how advantageous it is for those here in the Valley to be bilingual. And you're wonderful proof of that notion with your own work.
Yes, I agree. It's extremely important. I didn't realize the value of it until I was here. And so to me, I'm so fortunate, and I'm happy that I'm able to speak both of the languages, because it came really in handy when we were talking to the reporters and to the Spain group.
And like you said, and also to the community members who come to these meetings often to learn about the newest research that they can soon apply to their own to their own family members. Now let's go a little bit forward and talk about this semester for you at UTMB. Is this your last semester as a PhD student at UTMB?
Yes, this is my last semester as a PhD student. I am currently finishing up the last couple of experiments that I need to have done. I am in the process of writing my dissertation. And at my last committee meeting, we decided that I would be defending sometime in April, and my graduation ceremony will be in May.
That's marvelous. So is it okay for us to light some candles around April?
Sure.
Everything works, right?
Yep, anything will help.
All hands on deck to make sure that defense is a successful one. I'm sure it will be.
Yes.
And then your graduation in May. That's so exciting. I mean, so extraordinarily exciting. So how long has your journey been from beginning as a freshman here in Brownsville at now what is at UT Brownsville then, but now UT RGV? How long has your journey been from that first day when you walked on campus to now May, graduating from UTMB?
I feel like I'm ready to graduate. I feel like it's been a long journey, but I feel like I've learned so much. I've seen myself grow, and that to me, I feel accomplished. I feel happy. It's been a sacrifice, to be in school for this long, but I absolutely have loved the journey. I can see myself becoming the scientist that I want to be. Before, I would look up to, my mentors and other scientists that look up to them, and now I see myself starting to become, the scientist that I've always wanted to be. And the journey it is long. It's not easy to be in graduate school, but I've loved the journey. I've learned so much. I've seen myself grow. I've seen every skill, writing, presentations, my research work. Sometimes I look back and I still can't believe some of the things that I've been able to accomplish. And it's a really nice feeling to look back and see how far I've come.
Well, it's extraordinary. It's a wonderful story, and we want to make sure that many, many people here in the Valley and elsewhere get to hear your story because, we're often inspired by those who walk that path before us, and you certainly have had a difficult path to walk, a very challenging one. You've had important people like Dr. Garrido, and now you're working in the lab with Dr. Joe Nichols, kind of take you by the hand when you needed it and say, you can do this, you've got it. And your mom, who was so key in, and your father in setting up these high expectations for you. So we welcome you to continue to stay connected to us because we're going to want to follow not only your scholastic study and research, but to see what happens after you leave UTMB. Is it too early to ask if you have plans for post-graduation?
What I have in mind right now is doing a doctoral fellowship. I do have some things in mind. One of them would be to do a postdoctoral fellowship at a government agency such as the NIH or the WHO, the World Health Organization. So that's an option. The other would be to do a postdoctoral fellowship in a pharmaceutical company and be part of the research and development side of things for a company. And so I still want to be involved in research. What I do want to be able to accomplish, too, is be able to have a voice, as a female scientist, as a Hispanic female scientist, be able to have a voice. And I think maybe a government-type job would allow me to do something like that, not to do research, but also be able to have a voice in whatever science topics there might be.
And framing policy, as you say, and giving that policy the underpinnings of strong research-based groundings becomes so important as we move forward in our own work. So, thank you for understanding that you can have great impact inside a university, but also, as you say, in public agencies, and especially with a Latina's strong voice coming with that kind of background to help us think about how to do better public policy research in the future. Well, I just so enjoyed getting to meet you and getting to talk to you through your different stages of your career. But we're not going to let you go. We're going to stay connected, if that's okay with you, so that we can continue to tell people here in the Valley of your magnificent story.
Yes, I will stay in touch, and thank you for giving me this opportunity. I really appreciate it.
Not at all. I have one final question, if you don't mind, and that's a moment for you to talk directly to students who might hear this interview and are maybe a little worried that, well, that was for someone that was very, very special, and I don't know if I have the same ability or dreams or ganas to do what she's done. What kind of words of encouragement or inspiration or just advice would you give our students?
I would say to not be afraid of dreaming big. Don't ever think that any dream you have is too big for you. Let your dreams become your goals and work hard to achieve all of your goals. Nobody can stop you from, reaching your goals. Your biggest enemy, I think, would be yourself. Don't let insecurities or the fear of not reaching something stop you from trying it. And just step out of your comfort zone and just go for it. It only takes one person, if it's your mother, your father, friends, your mentor, to tell you that you can do it, for you to believe in yourself. So whenever you hear negative things, about you, don't ever listen to those negative things. Always believe in yourself, and no dream is too big for you to reach. So just set your dreams to become your goals and work hard to accomplish your goals, because as long as you work hard and you put your heart into it, you will be able to reach them.
Okay, so now you have a whole team of cheerleaders here in the Valley, knowing of your success. And if you could see me, I have a grin from ear to ear. I could not be more proud because, it takes years often at the university to see the end result. We start with kids as freshmen, and in some cases, like at the Math and Science Academy and juniors in high school, and then to see them travel that very long journey so successfully inspires the soul and reignites the importance of the work that we have to do here to open doors of opportunity for the next generation of leaders. So muchísimas gracias, Stephanie. It's been such a pleasure to have the privilege of having you on our inaugural show, Next Generation. Adios.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for tuning in to Next Generation. a program highlighting the next generation of leaders in the Rio Grande Valley and beyond.